everyone, welcome to today's video tutorial of Lulu the Koala from Likey's new Amitami kit. I am so excited to make this with you, but before we get started, let me pull out all the materials that come included in the kit and we can get familiar with them before we do start. Okay, so here's an overview of everything you'll need to complete Lulu the Koala. First off being the instructions. I'll be going over these step by step with you today, but if you want to follow along with me, you can read them here, as well as our crochet hook for our project. For this particular project, we needed a 2.5 millimeter, so that is here for us, as well as the perfect amount of yarn. This is our main color, which is going to be silver, and then we also have color A and B in this bag, which is going to be white and black, as well as a darning needle and a stitch marker to keep track of every single row of our work. And we have the stuffing, of course, to stuff our Amitami project with. So with all of that out of the way, let's jump right into the tutorial. One little note about the instructions, if you'll be following along with me, we're going to start at the legs and work down to the head and body, and so on and so forth. On this instruction sheet, there is also a list of all the materials we went over today, as well as a basic conversion chart and any abbreviations you might find you need to learn from the pattern instructions. On the back, we also have our continued instructions as well as our assembly guide. So this is all here for us, which we will get to much later. And sometimes through the pattern, I will let you know you can refer to photos and they will be here for you if you need some additional visuals. But that is all I wanted to mention as far as the instructions go. So let's start at the legs and let's get working on our Lulu. So the first instruction of our legs is that we need to use our main color, chain 3, and in the second chain from the hook, make 5 single crochet. So our main color is this silver, and the reason we're working the legs first is because the legs, body, and head are going to be actually one piece. So we're just starting from the bottom and working our way up. Then we'll make the arms, muzzle, and ear separately, and we'll sew those on together. So that's why we're going to start at the legs and work up. But for the first leg that we need to work, our main color being silver, again, we need to chain up 3. So to start our crochet project, we first need to make a slip knot in order to chain 3. So if you're unfamiliar with a slip knot, let me show you how to make that now. First, you need to place out 2 fingers, your pointer and your middle finger. Place the yarn over those fingers and clamp it down with your thumb there to hold it into place. Then you're going to take the yarn, wrapping around your pointer and middle finger. You're going to create an X that will cross over your pointer finger like that. With that X in place, you can then take your ring finger and hold that yarn down like that back here. That's just going to keep it nice and sturdy for us to work our slip knot. Take your crochet hook, and with the hook side facing downwards like this, we're going to go under that first strand of yarn right here and grab that second strand. Pulling that second strand under that first strand will slightly turn the hook towards us like this, and then we can release those fingers that were holding the place of the loop, and we can pull it tight, creating our slip knot there like that. And that is a slip knot. So let's do that just one more time just to really get it down. 2 fingers out, placing the yarn over our fingers, holding in place with our thumb, wrapping it around, creating that X, holding it in place with our ring finger like this. Hook side is down towards the table. Under that first strand, we're grabbing that second strand, pulling it under the first strand still, turning the hook slightly towards us and releasing our fingers from inside. Our slip knot is created. So there we go. And this is an adjustable knot, very helpful in the crochet world. So it's definitely something worth learning. And then we need to chain up 3. So from here, let's chain 3 together. 1, 2, 3, and we are going to work our first single crochet in the second chain from the hook. So to find the second chain from the hook, we need to count backward. This first loop on the hook does not count as a stitch. So this is our first stitch, this chain right here. So that's chain 1 and chain 2 right here. So in the second chain from the hook, we can begin our single crochet. To make a single crochet, all we need to do is insert our hook into that stitch that we have there, like that, and we're going to throw the loop over our crochet hook. That's called yarning over. Pulling that hook through that loop again, we now have 2 loops on the hook. With these 2 loops on the hook, we can then take our yarn over one more time and pull through those 2 loops. That creates 1 single crochet. All 5 single crochets we're going to be working are going to get worked into that second chain from the hook for this particular round. So let's work our next single crochet into that same stitch. So entering into the stitch with your hook like that, yarning over, pulling up a loop like so, 2 loops on the hook, yarning over and pulling through. We now have 2 single crochet, and we're going to complete this 3 more times. So here we go again for number 3. Perfect. Number 4, inserting into the stitch, yarning over, pulling up a loop, 2 loops on the hook, yarning over and pulling through, and we have 1 more left. Into that same stitch, pulling up a loop, yarning over and pulling through. We now have 5 single crochet in that chain 2 space, which is perfect. Now to mark the end of each round, we are going to take our stitch marker here and place it into that 5th single crochet, which is also the last stitch of the round. And this will help us keep track of what round we are working, or when the end of that round is, I should say, because it will start to get confusing to know which round you're on as the project increases in size. So with our stitch marker in the last stitch of the round, we can move on to round 2. So round 2 is an increase in every stitch, so we'll go up to 10 single crochet total. So to make an increase, you're going to insert into that first stitch that we made, the first single crochet, yarning over. Let me put my tail down a little bit so it doesn't look like a loop there. As you can see now, there's no little loopy here. That was just my tail getting in the way, my yarn tail. Right here, that was where we first started our slip knot. We're going to pull that loop through again. So we have 2 loops on the hook again. Pulling through, we have 1 single crochet. Now, we're going to do that same thing in that same stitch. This is what creates an increase. That just means 2 single crochets in 1 stitch. So into that same stitch, we're pulling up a loop, yarning over and pulling through. We have 2 single crochet in that stitch now, which is perfect. We're going to do that all the way around. Into the next stitch, we are going to place our hook and pull up a loop, make 1 single crochet. Into that same stitch, we are going to create 1 more single crochet. There we go. We are going to make 2 single crochet in each of these 5 single crochets for the entire round. So go ahead and complete that increase in every stitch all the way around. I'll meet you back at the stitch marker when we have 10 stitches. And now we are to our last stitch with the stitch marker in it. So we can remove our stitch marker and let's do our last set of increases. So into this last stitch, 1 single crochet, and into that same stitch, 1 single crochet again. Just like that, and then we can place our stitch marker back into that last stitch because we now have 10 single crochet in round 2. Okay, so now for rounds 3 and 4, which is going to be 2 rounds, we're going to work 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way around, keeping our stitch count at 10 single crochets. So you're just going to simply place 1 single crochet in each of our 10 stitches we already have. We're doing no increasing this round, so go ahead and complete 2 rounds of 1 single crochet in every stitch, making sure you do move your stitch marker up around so you don't lose count of your rounds. Even when we're working no increases, it's still important to make sure you move that stitch marker up. So complete those 2 rounds and I will meet you back here in 1 moment once we have our 2 rounds of 10 single crochets completed. Okay, I just worked my 2 rounds of 10 single crochet each. I took my stitch marker out because we no longer need it because this is the end of the first leg. So what we need to do now is fasten off. So to fasten off, we're going to chain up 1 more like this, and then we can cut a long tail to sew this on to the second leg later. We're going to attach those later on. So we're just going to cut our tail like that. And we can go ahead and pull the loop off of the crochet hook like that. That'll help fasten our last stitch of the round in, so there'll be no losing your stitches. And this is our first leg all complete. So we can set this aside and we are going to work our second leg with the same silver color. So with our second leg, we need to just repeat the same steps we repeated for round 1 through 4 of the first leg. So just a quick refresh, let's make our slip knot. Perfect. And after that, we're going to chain up 3, 1, 2, 3. In our second chain from the hook, we are going to place 5 single crochet into that chain space. 2, 3, 4, 5. After our 5th single crochet, we're going to go ahead and insert our stitch marker into the last stitch of that round. And then for round 2 of the leg, as we did in the first leg, we need to make an increase in every stitch all the way around. So we are going to make 2 single crochet in each of these 5 single crochets for the entire round. So go ahead and complete that increase in every stitch all the way around. I'll meet you back at the stitch marker when we have 10 stitches. Okay, I've just increased in every stitch all the way around. I'm popping my stitch marker back in, and then we're going to do again 2 rounds of 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way around. So 10 single crochet per round for 2 rounds, and I'll meet you back here when we have those 2 rounds completed. All right, my 2 rounds of 10 single crochet are worked. I have my stitch marker off to the side, and we are going to now join our legs together. So do not fasten off this second leg. We're gonna keep working with our yarn attached here. So for round 5, I'm gonna just bring my other leg back into the picture. We're gonna start by chaining 3. So let's do that. 1, 2, and 3. And then we're going to go ahead and grab our first leg here. All right, and we are going to find this spot where we fastened off. That's where I'm gonna actually attach my leg now. It just makes it easier for me to do that. So to attach the leg, we are going to go into that stitch as we would work a normal single crochet like this. And we're gonna push it onto our hook. And then let's move these tails out of the way so they're not getting in our stitching or anything. We are going to join this with a single crochet. So to do that, we're just going to yarn over as normal, pulling that loop up onto the hook, 2 loops on the hook like this, yarn over and pull through both of those loops. We've now joined our first leg to our second leg. So good job there. And we need to work 1 single crochet in the next 3 stitches and then an increase 2 times. So that does count as our first single crochet there. And then we're going to work 2 more. So into the next stitch, 1 single crochet, and into the next stitch on the leg, 1 single crochet. And now we need to make an increase because our instructions were 3 single crochet and an increase. So let's work our increase here. 1, 2, that's 2 single crochets in a stitch. And it said we needed to do that 2 times. So let's do that 1 more time. So we have 1 single crochet here, 2 single crochet, and 3 single crochet. And then we're going to work our increase, our second increase. We have 1, 2 in 1 stitch, 2 single crochet in 1 stitch. And then it says work 2 more single crochet. So we have 2 spaces left here. We're going to work 1 single crochet into both of those spaces before we reach this chain again, okay? This part gets a little bit tricky, but stick with me here. Okay, so we've worked our 2 single crochet. Let's move this yarn tail out of the way again so it's not in our way while we're working on the chain. We're actually going to work our next set of stitches on to this chain 3 that we made. So our next set of instructions is to work 1 single crochet in each of the 3 chain spaces. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go through the chain space, but we're only going to go through 1 part of the stitch, 1 loop of that stitch, instead of how we would usually go ahead and go through both. Let me show you. It's kind of hard to even get through both. There we go. How we'll typically go through both the front and back loop of a stitch, we're just going to go through that front, the loop closest to us. We're going to yarn over and make 1 single crochet there. So that's 1 single crochet. Then in the middle of the chain space, we have the second chain. So we're going to make a second single crochet on that loop. And then the third one over here, remember, just going through that 1 loop, we're going to make our 3rd single crochet. So now we are back over to our second leg over here. Remember, this is where we had started, just on this side of it. So we're going to do the same thing we did on the first leg. We're going to make 1 single crochet in the next 3 stitches and then an increase. So there's 1 single crochet, here's 2 single crochet, and then 3 single crochet. And then we need to create an increase. So right here we're going to make 1 increase, which is 2 single crochet in a stitch. And then we will do that again. 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet, and 1 single crochet. So we'll have 3 single crochets, 1 in each of those 3 stitches, and then we have another increase to work. So into the next stitch we're going to work 2 single crochet. Perfect. And then into our last 2 stitches that we have here, we're going to work 1 single crochet in each of these stitches, just like we did on the previous leg. So we are back to our chain 3 space over here. this chain 3 where we work through those front loops on that side, we're going to work through the other unused loops on this side. So on this side of the chain, we're going to work 1 single crochet in the next 3 stitches. So into the front part of that loop, the unused side of this chain 3, we're going to make 1 single crochet. Into that second middle stitch, we're going to make 1 single crochet. And then into our last and third one here, we're going to make 1 single crochet again. Perfect. And that is going to be the end of round 5. So now we can place our stitch marker here because this is the new end of our round. So we'll pop that in right here, and we are ready to begin round 6. So as you can see here now, both of our legs are connected, and we're going to start working the body of the koala. So for round 6, we need to make 1 single crochet in each of the next 4 stitches and then an increase in the next stitch. We're going to do this 6 times, so our new stitch count will be 36, because after we did all of this work, our stitch count is at 30 right now. So let's start that together. Into the first stitch, 1 single crochet, into the next stitch, 1 single crochet, into the next stitch, 1 single crochet, and into the next stitch, 1 single crochet, then an increase. So let's work our increase. 2 single crochet in 1 stitch. Go ahead and repeat that of 1 single crochet in the next 4 stitches and an increase all the way around until you reach your stitch marker, and I will meet you back for round 7. Okay, I just made my last increase into the last stitch of this round, so I'm going to place my stitch marker back in, and we're going to move on to round 7 and 8. Before we do that, if you would like this little tail we have here from our first leg, we can snip this down. Just leave a small bit left because this will get hidden inside of the body, especially once we stuff it. We won't have to worry about weaving that in later, so you can just cut it kind of short just to get it out of your way if it is kind of getting in your way as you're working each round. I can understand because mine was kind of getting in the way too, so I'll just snip mine down like that. But for round 7 and 8, we're going to work 2 rounds of 1 single crochet in each stitch. So as we did previously when we were working our legs, we're going to make 1 single crochet in every stitch all the way around for 2 rounds total. Every round will have 36 single crochets, so no increasing or decreasing, and I'll see you back at the end of those 2 rounds when we've worked 2 rounds of 1 single crochet in every stitch. Alright, so I just worked round 7 and 8, which was my 2 rounds of 1 single crochet in every stitch, and we are going to begin round 9. Now for round 9, go ahead and grab your white yarn from that little Ziploc bag. We are going to be adding in the white as we work this round, so we will need this, but I'm going to work this round with you so I can show you exactly how to do so. So it says with the main color, so we're still using our silver right now. We are going to make 1 single crochet in the next 15 stitches. So let's do that together. Into the first stitch, 1 single crochet. Into the next stitch, 1 single crochet. That's 2. Then we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and our last stitch is right here, number 15. But before we close number 15, we're going to yarn over and pull the loop up like that. We are actually going to take our white yarn, okay, with our stitch half complete, make your slip knot here. I'm just going to attach it while my white yarn and my silver yarn is still on the hook, just like that. And we're going to pull through and complete this stitch with our white yarn like that. Okay, and then you can pull your silver yarn down tight like this. We're going to make just 1 single crochet with this white yarn. So into that next stitch, 1 single crochet. So when you're back here, not grabbing the tail of the white yarn, grabbing the working white yarn, we're going to pull up a loop like that. Now to finish the stitch, we're actually going to switch back to silver because we just needed it for one stitch. So we're going to switch our yarns. So now we have our silver yarn in our hand and the white yarn is behind us. I just kind of pull them apart with my thumb and index finger, yarning over with our silver. Complete your stitch like that, and you have one white stitch. So now we're going to just drop our white yarn completely. If it's a little tangled like this, I just like to untangle it there. So now we have a nice straight line again. And we're going to work the rest of this row back in silver. So with our main color again, we're going to make one single crochet in the next 20 stitches, which will get us back to our stitch marker. And I will see you back there in one moment. Okay, so you've made it back to your stitch marker and you've completed your first color change. Great job. So I actually need to move my stitch marker up one round. I forgot to move it after my last stitch. And we are ready to begin round 10. So we're going to do a little more color changing in this round here. So for round 10, it says with our main color, so our silver, we're going to make one single crochet in the next 4 stitches and then a decrease. We're going to do that 2 times. So let me show you how to make a decrease. So into that first single crochet, we're going to work 4 that are regular single crochets, which are no increasing or decreasing. Number 2, 3, 4 right here. And now we're going to work our decrease. So for a decrease, all we need to do is insert into that first stitch as a regular single crochet, pull up a loop, 2 loops on the hook. We're going to insert into our next stitch, yarning over, pulling up another loop with 3 loops on the hook now. We're going to yarn over and pull through to close that stitch. That is a decrease. So let's do one more of those together. We have 1 single crochet here, regular, 1 single crochet here, 2 single crochet total, 1 more here for 3 single crochet, and then a 4th single crochet here, just like that. Perfect. And then into these next 2 stitches, we're going to make another decrease. So insert into the stitch, pull up the loop for 2, insert into the next stitch, pulling up another loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarning over and pulling through. That is 2 decreases we have now made with our 4 single crochet in between. So that's all a decrease is. Now into the next 2 stitches, 1 regular single crochet in each of those stitches. So we'll have 1 single crochet here, and into the next stitch, 1 single crochet here. Before we close up this second single crochet stitch though, we're actually going to do exactly what we did last time, and we're going to switch back to color A, which is our white. I'm going to go ahead and put this over just to have the least amount of tangling as possible. So let's close our stitch with that white yarn. So we're going to yarn over with the white and pull it through those 2 silver loops. And now we have closed and we are working with our white yarn. So now it says with color A, our white, work 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches and then a decrease. So let's do that together. We have 1 single crochet in the first stitch, 1 single crochet in this next stitch, and then we're going to create a decrease with our white. We are also now working over top of our silver yarn. That just helps when we need to color change back. It makes it a lot easier. So what I mean by that is you can see every time we work a stitch, we're working into that loop and we have this silver yarn in front of our hook like this. So then when we yarn over and pull up a loop, when we go to close that single crochet, that silver yarn is in between the stitch. And that just is called carrying the yarn. So that just helps us for when we need to color change later on in the project. So I like to do that. It's a lot easier than having it back here floating around somewhere. So we need to do a decrease here. So let's do our decrease together into the first stitch. We're still using the white yarn. We're going to pull up 1 loop and then into that second stitch, we're going to go into that stitch and pull up another loop like this. Since this is our last stitch of white yarn, what we're going to do is flip back to our silver yarn so we can drop our white yarn, push it aside even if that's more helpful for you. Then take our silver color, yarning over and pulling through those 3 loops. We've now closed that single crochet decrease with our silver yarn. So we're back to our silver, which is our main color. You can also take the white and give it a little yank if you need to close your stitch up a little more even, okay? So we can put the white yarn aside again, and let's continue with our silver color. So our next set of instructions is to use our silver color and make 1 single crochet in the next 4 stitches and a decrease 3 times. So just as we were doing on the other side there, we're going to make 1 single crochet into the next stitch like that, 1 single crochet in the next stitch like that, 1 single crochet in that 3rd stitch like that, and then 1 single crochet into the 4th stitch there, normal single crochet, and then a decrease over the next 2 stitches. So repeat that a total of 2 more times. So we've done it 3 times on this side of the white yarn total, and then I'll meet you back at the stitch marker. We'll have 30 stitches at the end of this round. Awesome job. We just now finished our round 10. As you can see, our little white belly of Lulu is coming through and it's looking great. Good job on the color changing here. Let's do round 11. So for round 11, it says using the main color, still our silver, we're going to do 11 single crochets, and then we're going to switch to color A for 5 single crochets. So let's start that together. Let's do 11 single crochets into each of the next stitches. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and here we are at our 11th stitch. So we're going to start the stitch off in silver and then we will end it in white. So our yarn does have a little bit of a ways to travel, our white yarn over here, but that's okay. So we'll just move our silver aside and let's complete this stitch with our white yarn here. Pulling it through, there we go. Pulling our silver just a little bit to kind of close that single crochet there, and don't pull this white yarn too tight or you will buckle the body in and it'll kind of curve like this and it won't be able to be pushed back out. So this white yarn does need to stay a little bit loose, not too loose, but just enough so that it's not, let me show you, if you pull it really tight like this, it'll kind of just create a straight line and a bump here. We don't want that bump here. So let's just give ourselves enough slack so that it's not making it anything but flat. We want it to stay nice and flat. So now our instructions were with color A, which was our white yarn. We're going to work 5 single crochet. So let's do that. Into that first stitch we have 1 single crochet. Remember, we're keeping that silver yarn in the middle. We're carrying that across as we work. Into the next stitch 1 single crochet. Into the next stitch 1 single crochet. So far we have 3. This next single crochet is number 4. And then we're on to number 5. So we're going to start the stitch for number 5 like that, and then since we're going to be switching back to our main color now, we are going to put our white yarn aside and we're going to grab our main color, our silver, yarning over, pull through like that, and now we've completed our stitch in silver, so we're ready to go with our silver yarn. So our next set of instructions for the end of this round, with the main color, make 1 single crochet in the next 14 stitches. So go ahead and make 1 single crochet into the next 14 stitches and I'll see you back at the stitch marker. We will begin round 12. Alright, I just finished my round 11. Let's start round 12. So using our silver, our main color, we're going to make 1 single crochet in the next 10 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and number 10. So before we close up number 10, we're switching back to our white yarn because the next set of stitches is going to be in white. So taking our white yarn, I'm going to pop it back over so it's on top again. I'm going to reach it all the way over across, and we're going to complete our stitch with white, just like that. So it says now with color A, which is the white, we're going to make 1 single crochet in the next 7 stitches. So let's do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're to our last white stitch, so we're going to start number 7 as white, and we're going to finish it with silver. There we go, just like that. And then it says for the last set of instructions for round 12, using our main color, our silver, make 1 single crochet in the next 13 stitches. So go ahead and complete your round of 1 single crochet in the next 13, and I'll see you for round 13. I've just completed round 12 and we're going to start round 13. So the first set of instructions for round 13 is using our main color, make 1 single crochet in the next 3 stitches and then a decrease. So let's do that really quick. 1 single crochet, 2, 3, and then a decrease, making 2 single crochets into 1, remember, with 3 loops on the hook, just like that. So after our decrease, our next set of instructions for round 13 is to make 1 single crochet in the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3, but before we complete number 3, we are moving on to our color A, which is our white. So we're going to make sure our yarn goes all the way over here, and we're going to complete that 3rd single crochet with our white yarn. Again, making sure we're leaving plenty of slack in the white yarn so that our project doesn't buckle and it stays nice and flat. So now our next set of instructions for round 13 is using color A, make a single crochet decrease and a single crochet in the next 3 stitches, a decrease, and then 3. So let's do that together. So we need to first make our decrease. So with our white, we're going to make our first decrease right here. Close those 3 loops, perfect. And then we needed to make 1 single crochet in the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. After those single crochets are worked, we need to do another set of decreases. So let's do that. 1 more decrease. And then we need to end our white yarn with making 1 single crochet in the next 3 stitches. So here we go. 1, 2, and our last white stitch is right here. But before we close that white stitch, of course, we're going to switch back to our silver and close the stitch in silver because we're going back to our main color now. As you can see, our white is kind of forming like a triangle on the chest, and that's exactly what we want. So after those set of instructions for round 13, it says using our main color, our silver, make a decrease. So let's make our decrease. Okay, and then we're going to do 1 single crochet in the next 3 stitches and a decrease. We're going to do that 2 times. So 1 single crochet over the next 3 stitches. We have 1, 2, 3. Work your decrease right here, and then do that 1 more time, and we'll be back to our stitch marker. So now that we've ended round 13, we have 24 single crochet stitches, and this is going to be our last round with color A working on the chest. So let's do this last round, round 14 of color changing. So using our main color, we're going to make 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches, and then we'll make a decrease. So let's do that, 1 single crochet, 2, and a decrease. And then we need to make 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches as well, still with silver. 1, 2, but of course before we finish this second stitch of silver, let's bring our white yarn all the way over here, making sure we don't pull this too tight now. Keep it nice and loose so that our body is still laying nice and flat. Give that silver a tug to kind of put that stitch back into place. and we're going to begin our last set of this color changing for the body. So now with our white yarn, we need to make a decrease. There we go, with our white, our first decrease, the white yarn, and then we need to make one single crochet in the next 2 stitches. So we have 1, 2, and then we need to make another decrease with the white. So let's make another decrease. We need to do that 2 times with the white, so let's do that one more time. We have 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet, and then our decrease here. Okay, before we close this decrease, we need to switch back to our silver yarn. So we're going to do that by closing that last decrease with the white with the silver there, just like that. And then to end off row 14, we're going to use our silver and do 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches and a decrease. We'll do this 2 times. So let's do the first one together. There's 2 single crochet and a decrease. Do that one more time. I'll meet you back at the stitch marker. All right, that's the end of round 14. Great job working the body with this color changing and the decreasing. I know it's a little bit challenging, but good job. We can actually cut our white yarn off now because we don't need it for this part of the body anymore. Just leave yourself a little bit of a tail that will get pushed in with the stuffing, so we don't need to weave that end in. But before we move on, we are going to start the head next. So before we do that, let's pull up our loop a little bit of our first single crochet here of the next round, and we're going to begin stuffing the body, because as we continue working this hole, it's going to get challenging to stuff the very bottom of the legs here. So with our stuffing, I'm just going to take some, and I like to give it a little bit of a fluff before I push it into the koala. I'm going to just start stuffing, just focusing mostly on the legs and the bottom of this belly here. Not overstuffing, because I do still need to work single crochets into these stitches, so I don't want to get the stuffing mixed in with my stitching, and that can be pretty easy to do if you have too much stuffing in. So we're just really focusing mostly on these legs that will be really hard to get to later on in the project as we continue working. Okay, so once you feel like you have stuffed your specifically legs and bottom of the belly enough, this is how much I stuffed mine just for reference. We're going to move on to the head. So the head is worked right onto this piece. We're just going to start working that part next. So that's where we're going next. I'm going to insert my hook back into this single crochet loop that I pulled, and I'm going to close that up just like that, so it's back snug on my hook, and we're going to start the head. So with our silver, which is the color we'll be working with now, we're going to do something a little bit different again. For this round and round 15 only, we're going to work in the front loop of our stitch, and we're going to make an increase in every stitch all the way around. So typically when we're making our single crochet, we are very used to going through the entire stitch, so both the front loop and the back loop, that's what it's called. That's what's creating this little V shape, is our front loop and back loop. So that means when we're asked to work through the front loop only, we're just working through this front loop or part of the stitch right here instead of what we're used to with the entire stitch. And back loop is just when you go into the second loop of the stitch. So a front loop is just into the front loop as it suggests there, just that one strand of the single crochet. We're going to work every single stitch of this round in that front loop only, okay? So for this first stitch, we're going to make an increase, and that's what we're going to do in every stitch all the way around, which is, remember, 2 single crochet in that stitch. So both single crochet are just worked into that front loop, and that's our first increase. Into the next stitch, and only through the front loop, work another set of increasing. Just like that. And we're going to continue this working in the front loop only all the way around, making an increase in every stitch. I will meet you back when we get back to the stitch marker, and we will begin the next round, which will be round 16. All right, now that we've worked in the front loop of every stitch of the round, we now have 36 stitches, and that created the neck for Lulu. So we have the body, and then this is the little neck area, and now we'll begin the head. So just sometimes it helps to know which part you're working next to help you visualize. So the next set of instructions is we're going to make 1 single crochet in each of the next 5 stitches and then an increase 6 times for a new stitch count of 42. Now for this round and every round moving forward here, unless I say otherwise, we're going to be working back through the entire stitch. So no more front loop only, but let's work the first part of this together. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we have an increase in that 6th stitch there. Perfect. Go ahead and complete that of 5 single crochet in an increase all the way around. I'll see you back here at the end of the round. So I've just worked round 16. We have 42 single crochet total, and our next instructions are for 5 rounds, which is going to be round 17 through 21. We're going to do a repeat round. So that means we're just going to make 1 single crochet in every stitch all the way around, no increasing or decreasing for this round. Biggest thing I can say is make sure you move your stitch marker up every single round so you don't lose track of where you are. It's really important, especially in these repeat rounds, to move this up every single time, and keep a tally either on your phone, on a piece of paper, or on the instructions to make sure you know when you have done your 5 rounds, because it's very easy to lose track of which round you are on. So go ahead and work those 5 rounds of 1 single crochet in every stitch, and I will see you back here at the end of those 5 rounds. Okay, welcome back. I just worked my 5 rounds of 1 single crochet in every stitch, and we're going to start round 22. So for round 22, we're going to work 1 single crochet in the next 5 stitches and then a decrease. So let's just do a small refresher on that. There's 2 single crochet. Here's 3, 4, and number 5 right here. My yarn's a little tangled up, sorry. There we go, number 5, and then we'll make a decrease right here. So go ahead and complete that all the way around. I'll meet you back here for round 23. Now that round 22 is complete, we're going to begin round 23, which will be very similar. We're going to make 1 single crochet in the next 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then a decrease this time. So we're just removing 1 more stitch before the decrease, and we're going to do this all the way around. Repeat that sequence. I'll see you back at the stitch marker and the end of round 23. So now that round 23 is done, let's do round 24, which is again very similar. This time we're just going to do 3 single crochet between the decreasing. So we have 1, 2, and 3, and then a decrease after that. Perfect. And you're going to repeat that all the way around till the stitch marker. I'll meet you back there, and then we're going to stuff the rest of our head and body that we haven't stuffed yet. So after this round, let's begin stuffing again. Okay, my round 24 is complete. I'm just going to pull up my loop a little bit so that I don't lose my stitch there, and let's stuff the rest of the way up to about this point. We'll still be able to stuff a little more as we begin closing it up, but we're nearing the end of the head. So that's why we want to do a lot of this now. So go ahead and stuff yours, and then we will begin around 25 together. So now that Lulu is stuffed up a lot more there, we're going to begin round 25. Round 25 is 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches and then a decrease. So go ahead and work that for this entire round. We'll meet back for round 26. So now we've worked round 25. Our hole is getting significantly smaller. We only have 18 stitches left here, so let's work round 26 together. Round 26 is 1 single crochet in the next stitch and then a decrease. So go ahead and work that, and then we will finish off by working the last round of the head, and that's going to be round 27. So I'll meet you back in just a second. Now that round 26 is done, I also took a second to just stuff the last remaining bit of stuffing I wanted to put in the head. So I am very happy with how much my Lulu is stuffed, and we're going to work round 27. Round 27 is a single crochet decrease 6 times, so we're going to go down to just 6 single crochet. So we have 12 right now. So that means every single stitch is a decrease. So these first 2 stitches are going to be our first decrease. There's no single crocheting in between. We're going right into another decrease into the next set of stitches. So go ahead and work that for this entire round. After that, we can go ahead and chain up 1 because we're going to fasten off. So now we've worked round 27. So let's chain up 1 just like that and leave ourselves a small little tail to sew the ends in and close up that last little bit of stuffing. We're also just going to go ahead and fasten off by pulling the loop all the way off our hook like that. Perfect. And let's sew up this little hole so no more stuffing gets out. Make sure yours is stuffed to your liking. And first thing we need to do is take our darning needle and thread our yarn onto our darning needle so we can sew this hole closed. Once you have your needle threaded, we can begin closing the hole. So to close the hole up, I like to do like a weaving pattern. So I'm going to go on the inside of this hole near the stuffing, and I'm going to push the needle out of that last round of single crochet towards me, just like that. Then I'm going to turn the head slightly, and into the second stitch, I'm going to push the darning needle away from me through that last stitch. And into the next stitch, I'm going to push it towards me now from the inside into the next one, pushing it away from me. That's number 4. Number 5, I'm going to push towards me. And in our last single crochet stitch, I'm going to do number 6, away from me. And then you can just go ahead and give that yarn a little yank, and that'll close up the hole the rest of the way there and secure all your stuffing into place. So once you've done that, we just need to weave this tail through a couple times so that we don't have any loose ends coming out. This can kind of be wove through wherever. Just make sure you don't pull it too tight because you can create like a dent in the head almost. So you just want to do it lightly. But once you feel like you've done it enough times, 3 is more than enough here, you're just going to cut this tail very close to the end here, just like that. And then we have our legs, body, and head completed. Good job. I know that was a lot of work, but it looks awesome. We can also take a second to weave these little ends down here in because we don't want to have to deal with them later. So let's weave those in really quickly the same way we did the head. And then we can move on to making the arms. So I'll meet you back when we've wove both of these tails at the feet in, and then we will move on to the arms. Once you've wove in all your tails and you have this cute little body, you can go ahead and set it aside. Bring your silver yarn back forward. I can also remove my darning needle. Don't need that for a moment. And let's begin our arms. So we're going to make 2 of these as I mentioned, but I'll make the first one with you. So go ahead and start off by making your slip knot, and then we're going to chain up 3 again as we did with the legs. So 1, 2, and 3. There we go. And into the second chain from the hook, we're going to make 6 single crochets into that second chain. So just as we did with the legs, except for we're going to add 1 more single crochet into there. So go ahead and make your 6 single crochet. I'll meet you back here once you have 6 in that second chain from the hook. So once we have our 6 single crochet, I'm going to place my stitch marker in that last single crochet in number 6, just like before, and we're going to move on to round 2. Now round 2, we need to make 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches and an increase 2 times for 8 single crochet. So we're very used to doing this at this point. Into that first stitch, make 1 single crochet. There you go. Into that second stitch, make 1 single crochet and then an increase. I'm going to repeat that one more time. I'll see you back at the stitch marker. Now that we've completed round 2 of our arm, we're going to move on to round 3 through 8. So for 6 rounds total, we're going to make 1 single crochet in the next stitch, no increasing or decreasing, 8 single crochet total. We're also not stuffing the arm, so you don't need to worry about popping some stuffing in there. So go ahead and work your 6 rounds of 1 single crochet in each stitch. So I'll see you after we have those 6 rounds completed. So I just finished those 6 rounds of my tiny little arm here. I took my stitch marker out because we're going to fasten off. Remember to fasten off. We're just leaving ourselves a tail to sew this onto the body later. So we can snip that there. And then we just need to pull the loop off of our crochet hook like that. And that is the end of our arm. So go ahead and make 1 more of those. I'll meet you back here after we have both arms completed. All right, once you have 2 arms complete, we can pop these aside to sew onto the koala bear later. But right now we're gonna make an ear. So we're actually gonna need 2 ears, of course, but I'm gonna make the first one with you. And we're gonna start off with color A because we are going to be doing 2 colors again. Some color changing later on in the ear. So to start the ear, we're gonna use color A, the white, and let's chain up 3 here together, making our slip knot, of course, and then our chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. And into the second chain from the hook, as usual, we're going to make 4 single crochet into that second chain. So again, first loop on the hook does not count. Our first stitch here and then a second. So into the second chain, and our 4 single crochet will be made. 1, 2, 3, 4. Awesome. Into the fourth stitch, we want to make sure we remember to place our stitch marker, and we can move on to the next round. So we're actually going to start working in something called rows instead of rounds. We've been working rounds, which means we've been working around the circle for every single round. Now we're going to switch over to rows, which means we're going to be working back and forth, okay? So I'll show you what that really means as we begin working it, but we need to chain up 1 to start our row. Just like that. So once you've chained 1, turn our work. We're going to be working on the same side here as our stitch marker. So we're kind of working back this way again. So into that first stitch, which let's remove our stitch marker now just to work that first one, and then we'll put it back. But into that first stitch, which was actually our 4th single crochet into that circle, we're going to make an increase. So we're going to put 2 single crochet into this space. And then just remember to put your stitch marker back. I did work 2 single crochet because that was our increase, so I need to go back to that second stitch here, not this one. And after that increase, let's increase in every other stitch. So into that second single crochet, let's place 2 more single crochet. So 1, 2. Into our third single crochet, we're going to make another set of increase. 1, 2. And now we're back to our very first single crochet right here. We're going to do an increase again. 1, 2. Okay, so after you've worked that last set of increases, we're going to chain 1 and turn again. So we're going to work back this way again. As you can see, we now have like a half circle forming. That's perfect. And we have 8 single crochet right now. So for row 3, we need to make 1 single crochet in the next stitch and an increase in the next. We're going to do this 4 times. So into our first stitch right here, place 1 single crochet. And then into this next stitch, we're going to do an increase, which is 2 single crochet. We'll do that 4 times, work that all the way down this row, and then I'll meet you back at the stitch marker and we'll begin row 4. Okay, I'm at my last stitch. I just removed the stitch marker and I'm going to work my increase. So this will be the end of this row for me. There we go. Put my stitch marker back in and we'll work the next row, which is row 4. So for row 4, we need to first chain up 1, and turn our work. That way we can begin row 4, and we need to make 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches and then an increase. So I actually probably should have just kept my stitch marker out just to work this first stitch. You don't really need your stitch marker for this, but I'm just using mine for the sake of being able to show you easier. So let's put this back in. Okay, so there's 1, and into the next stitch we have 2, and then our increase, which is of course 2 single crochet in 1 stitch. Go ahead and repeat that all the way down row 4, and I'll meet you back at the end for row 5. Okay, so that's the end of row 4. As you can see, our half circle is getting much larger. We need to switch to our silver, so our main color now. So let's cut ourselves a small tail. We don't need much here, just a very little bit like that. You can put the white aside for just a moment while we work this next row. And we're going to make our chain for the turn with our silver yarn. So making our slip knot, I'm just going to attach it while my white yarn is attached, if you remember how we did with the chest area of the koala. And we can go ahead and pull through that white stitch, and now we have our silver stitch ready to work. So let's turn our work and just put your tails off to the side because we'll weave those in later, so don't worry about those right now. And for this row, row 5, which is our last row of the ear, we need to go ahead and put 1 single crochet in every stitch down the entire row. So you're going to make 16 single crochets total, 1 in each stitch until you reach your stitch marker on this side or just the opposite side. And I will meet you back here. We'll fasten off this ear and then you'll make 1 by yourself. Okay, I'm to my stitch marker, which means the end of row 5. I'm just going to remove it to place my last single crochet there. And then let's fasten off, leaving a little bit of a longer tail to sew this on to the body. Pull your loop through the hook and tighten it down. And there we have one of our koala's ears. If you're wondering, how is this the koala ear? I will show you really quick. So it actually is just gonna line up flat on the body like that. So maybe it makes more sense once you see it. I think probably you were envisioning making a circle, but we just need half of a circle. So it's a lot easier to sew it down to the body like that. And look how cute that is going to look. So place your one ear and Lulu's body aside. Go ahead, starting with your white yarn, make one more ear, and then we'll meet back to make our last piece of Lulu, which is going to be the muzzle. So I'll see you in just a second. Okay, so now that we've made both of our ears, we can go ahead and put those aside to assemble onto the koala's body later. And we need to grab color B, which is going to be black. And we need to start with, of course, our slip knot as we have been. And after our slip knot, we are going to make a chain of 5. So go ahead and make a chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Perfect. And now for the muzzle, we do have quite a few instructions. So let's just take this step by step. We're going to start by increasing in the second chain from the hook. So remember, this loop does not count as a stitch. And we have 1, 2 into that second one. It's going to be kind of hard for you to see on mine because it's black here. We're going to go ahead and make an increase. So make your increase into that second chain from the hook. Perfect. And then we are going to make a single crochet in the next 2 chains in a row. So we have 1 single crochet in one chain, and then we'll have 1 single crochet into the next chain. Perfect. Now into our last chain space here, we are going to make 4 single crochet into this chain. So go ahead and make 4 single crochet into that last chain space. 1, 2, 3, 4. That will kind of round it. So we're going to be back now on this other side of the chain here. So we're going to work back up here on this side of the chain loops. Very similar to when we worked the legs, how we worked on one side of the chain and then the other. We're going to do that same thing here. So after we work those 4 single crochet, we are going to single crochet 1 into the next 2 stitches again. So just on the unused loops of those chains, do 1 single crochet and then 1 single crochet. Perfect. And then we're going to be back to that second chain from the hook where we worked an increase, and let's work 1 more increase in there. And we're going to have 12 single crochet at the end of this round here. Okay, there we go. We have like an oval created now that you can see here. Perfect. And let's place our stitch marker there. We just have 1 more round of the muzzle, so let's work round 2 now. So for round 2, we're going to make an increase into the next stitch. So go ahead and make your 2 single crochet in that first stitch there. Then we're going to make 1 single crochet in the next 4 stitches. So this will just be 1 single crochet in each of these stitches. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Perfect. Now that we're back at this rounded part here, we are going to work 2 increases back to back. So into that first stitch, let's do 1 increase, which is 2 single crochet in a stitch, and then into the next stitch, we're going to do an increase again. So another 2 single crochets into that stitch, just like that. Awesome. And now we're going to work back down this other side here of the oval, and we need to place 1 single crochet in the next 4 stitches. So let's do that just like the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then into our last stitch with our stitch marker right here. Let's remove the stitch marker so we can work into that space. We are going to make a single crochet increase again. So place 2 single crochet in that last stitch, just like that. So after that, we can go ahead and chain up 1 because we're going to fasten off. That is the end of the muzzle. So cut yourself a nice tail here to sew on. And then I'm going to bring all the parts forward, but really quickly, make sure you pull your loop off the hook to really fasten it on. just like that. We have our oval. I'm going to pull all the parts of Lulu forward and we are going to begin assembling. All right, ready for the fun part? We're going to start assembling a Lulu. So we're going to start with the ears of Lulu, and it says for the ears, position the ears on either side of the head between rounds 19 and 27, using the yarn tails to sew them into place. There is also an image for this and a lot of the other steps too. So if you want to refer to the instructions for even more visual, you can totally do so. So our first step is to make sure we thread our darning needle and then we can begin. So we need to find round 19 and 27. So actually this last round of our project was round 27, this spiral right here. So we can start at the tippy top of our head and work down. So we have 27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 22, 21, 20, 19. So we're going to work all the way down to here on the side of the head. So since we know that our last round is round 27, I'm not going to hold that marker, but I am going to, with my nail, just hold a place right here. So I know this is how far about I need to work the ear down. I am going to start up at the top of the ear here, and I'm going to start at round 27, just poking my darning needle through about one single crochet's worth and pulling that all the way through. That will anchor it into place. And if you're needing both hands too, another thing you can do that will just be really helpful is you can just pop your stitch marker in that round 19, so you have an idea of how far that ear needs to come down. It will naturally just fall down into place where it needs to be, but if you want to put your stitch marker there, you can totally do so as well. It's just personal preference. And we need to start working this ear onto the body. See how it just naturally will shape on there anyway? But to sew it on and secure it down, what we're going to do is go through about one stitch worth of the body. Here's about one single crochet's worth, and then we're going to poke through that last round of the ear as well, just to make sure we're anchoring the two onto each other, and pull it straight back like that. So there's one stitch on, and then we can turn it over, and from back here we have it going through the ear here. So now we need to go through one stitch of the body, and we'll come out the front of the body over here. So we'll weave that through. We'll just repeat this process of weaving it through the body and the ear, making sure we're securing it with every single stitch until we have reached the end of our ear or to round 19 here. I'm just going to continue this back and forth, and after you get done with this first ear, we're going to complete the same exact thing on the other ear so they're symmetrical, but I'll meet you back here at the bottom of this ear so we can fasten this one off together. Okay, my ear has reached round 19. I removed my stitch marker in order to put that last stitch in, and we can just weave this to the back. We can weave all these ends in later because we do have a fair amount of ends from working the ear here. So we'll just push this to the back. Make sure with every weaving of the ear to the body, you are securing it on pretty snug so that there's no gapping here along where we sewed it together. And I'm just gonna leave this back here for now because we'll weave all these ends down after we do the other ear, but I'm just gonna leave it like that for now. Look how cute that looks. So let's thread our other ear and we'll do the exact same thing with this ear. So we need to map our ear to be equal to both sides. As we remember, this is round 27, so we need to go round 27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 22, 21, 20, 19, about right here. Make sure that's equal. It is at the same row of this side, which is great. And we're gonna start from the bottom on this ear actually, because this is where this ear happens to have its longer tail. So let's just pull that through. And we can see that the ear will line up perfectly up to the top of round 27 here. So we're going to weave it on the same way, just in reverse order from the bottom to the top. There is technically like a wrong and right side of the work on the ear. If you don't mind though, you can just take the longest tail part and put it at the top of the ear and sew it down this way. However, I am going to work with both of the right sides facing. It's very hard to tell the difference between the two. So if it doesn't bug you, you can just make sure both long tails are at the top and you work down. I'm going to work from the bottom up for this ear, but you're going to follow that same pattern of weaving it through. This time I'm just going to be ending at the top of the head. So I'll meet you back here once my other ear is secured on, and we'll move on to the arms. Okay, so as you can see, I've just finished sewing down my second ear. I'm at the top of my head here, and I'm just going to push this to the back like this. So I can weave that in and cut the tail. And then I just need to make sure I weave like this end here I have in the front instead of in the back. I'll need to weave that into the back. And once they are all back here and wove in, we can cut off all of these tails and move on to the next part, which will be the arms, as I mentioned. So let me cut all these tails, weave them in, and then I'll meet you back here to begin doing the arms. Awesome, so all my ends are woven in for my ears, and let's move on to the arms. So our instructions for the arms is to position them on either side of the body between rounds 13 and 14 using the tails to sew them into place. So after you thread your darning needle, we can begin sewing on the arms. So we know, instead of having to count up from round 1, that we started the head at round 15. So round 14 and 13 are going to be these two rounds right here where we have our white color changing. So we'll just want to put it all the way off to the side here and sew it on right at where the neck kind of meets that body area. But again, if you need to reference the photo, please do so. I'm just going to sew this down a couple of times, very similar to the way that we sewed down our ears. Just going back and forth a few times until I feel like it's secure in place. Just make sure the most important thing is you're going through the body with every stitch and the arm with every stitch. So just one last time here from the arm into the body, and I'm going to push it out right here. Doesn't really matter where it pushes out, but after that yarn tail gets pulled through, I can just cut this right here because that is all I needed to do to sew the arm on. Can also snip off this one from where we began the work, just like that. And we have our arms secured. So go ahead and complete that same process for the other side, and then we'll meet back up to do the eyes. I've just finished fastening down my arms. By the way, I just secured them at the base so that my koala can still wave and move and do all the cute things. You just need to secure it right at the baseline and onto the body. There is all it needs to be nice and secure. It won't come off that way either. It's totally safe and sound. So let's begin the eyes. We are going to grab this little bit of black yarn we have off to the side. There was a small amount of this like embroidery floss, and then there was also the black yarn that we used for the muzzle. So let's grab the embroidery floss here, and we're going to thread our needle. I just have a little tail here, and most of it is off to the end because we are going to do both eyes at the same time. So it says, with color B, embroider the eyes on round 22 of the head so that the left and right eye have a 6 stitch gap. So the swirl at the top of the head is round 27, and we'll count back. So we have round 26, round 25, round 24, 23, 22. So right here, we're gonna poke our darning needle in to the side here, and then we'll just come up 1 stitch. I'm off to the side kind of where the right eye would be here, and I'll use that as my placeholder so that we'll see if 6 stitches here is a good amount or if we need to go a little bit more over. So if this is our first stitch where we're going to be embroidering the eye, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then our other eye will come out right over here, which looks like it will be perfect for us. So we can continue pushing the needle all the way through. Go ahead and adjust it now if need be. I'm going to leave a tail about this long to weave into the body after we get done embroidering the eyes. Now we just need to close this hole here so that we actually get the shape of an eyeball. So we're going to push our yarn through that same exact hole 1 time here. Move your little tail out of the way. There we go. That's 1 time through, and let's do that again. You usually have to do this about 3 or 4 times before you have a big enough eye. Okay, so there's number 2. There's number 3, and let's do 1 more. I think 4 times will be good. We might even need 5, but let's see. 4, let's do 1 more. So that looks like a good size eye to me. So now that we are happy with this eye, we can go ahead and go our 6 stitches over. So right where our yarn is coming out of at the top of the eye here, let's go over 6, but we're gonna go underneath the body. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So right after that 6th one, let's come out right over here. See where my darning needle's poking out? Let's push that all the way through, just like that. And then instead of working from the bottom up like we were before, let's work from the top down, just 1 stitch length here. And we'll just do this the same amount of times as we did the first time. So we did 5 over there. We're going to do 5 over here. So there's 1, have 2, 3, 4, and 1 more. Let's see if they're looking even. They are. Okay, here's number 5. Perfect. And then we can push this to the back of the head through that same space our yarn is coming out of right now. We'll just push that all the way through to the back like this and cut our tail here. Do the same thing with that other end from where we started, this one right here. And then we'll take a look at our eyes and put the muzzle on. Okay, now that both of our eyes are embroidered on, we're ready to start the last step, which is the muzzle. I have already threaded mine, but for the instructions on the muzzle, it says position the muzzle between rounds 16 and 21 of the head, sew it into place. There is an image for this shoe in case you need more visual, but if you remember this round 15 where our head started and our neck kind of ended, we have round 15 and then 1 up would be round 16. So I'm going to go into the bottom of round 16 through about 1 or 2 single crochets here, and I'm going to try to make it as centered between the eyes as I can, pulling it all the way through like this, and then I'll rotate it so it's nice and straight onto the head here like this. All right, I have it in place, perfect. And holding it down with my nail, I'm just going to go ahead and weave through the last round of the single crochet of the muzzle and about 1 stitch of the body here just to secure it onto place, just like we did with everything else. And then making sure every time we're going through the muzzle so we don't have any gapping, and through the body as well. I'm going to go ahead and just follow this shape of the muzzle, this oval shape, all the way around until I reach the beginning where we started. Not pulling it too tight, but just making sure it's nice and secure. And continue checking to make sure that you're keeping it nice and straight as you work it onto the head. And I'll see you back when we get to the end of the muzzle and we'll fasten off together. Okay, I've got back to the beginning where we started down here, if you remember. I'm just gonna push this one last time to the back of my work, have it pop out the back of the head. I'll cut this tail off here. And then this tail in the front was actually from where we first began our chain 5, if you remember. And since it is tucked away back in the muzzle, we can just snip this off right here because it's not a loose end, just like that. And that is all we needed to do for the muzzle and to finish out our koala. So congratulations, you just completed your Lulu the Koala. I hope you loved making this with me. I had so much fun making this with you. Let me know what other of the Likey Amitami characters you're interested in. The koala is so cute, but they're all super fun. I hope you had a good time color changing with me and learning some new techniques. I hope to see you back for another one very soon. And until next time, bye!